Okay, so this is a story time slash um, a continuation on the video that I did the other day in how I believe that God prepares us. And then, plus, you guys are going to, if you want to listen to this story, you're going to have to listen to it while I situate my little, or clean up my little makeup area. I'm going to clean my brushes and everything. But anyway, this, like I said, is a continuation of how God prepares us. Back in 2017, me and my husband, we were married, and it was a rough year for us that year. If anybody knows my husband is a real laid back guy. Nothing too much bothered him. He always look at the positive in everything and in everybody. But it was rough that year. That year in June, unfortunately, his son, they had found his son in Detroit. He had his son had addiction problems, and they found his son in the street of Detroit. He was unconscious. He had fell back and hit his head on the concrete, and he passed out. Long story short, they admitted him in the hospital. He didn't have any ID on him, and they didn't know who he was. He was listed as a John Doe for a while, so we didn't know. We lived in Ohio, so we didn't even know that he was in the hospital. And I think how we found out was it was a hospital that he had been to before, and I think one of the nurses had recognized him. Then they finally got a name who he was, and then my husband, they ended up calling my husband and everything. So that's how that went. He pulled, they did say he wasn't gonna make it, but he pulled through. So that right there, that situation right there, it left my husband under a lot of stress, because, of course, that's his son. He raised him. And so that happened in June of 2017. And then he was also going through a situation, a family situation, let's just put it like that. And he had to do something he didn't want to do, but it had to be done. So, it bothered him. He was upset about that. He was stressed out. And that's why I tell everybody always talk, whether it's your husband, friend, or whatever, always keep those lines of communication, open, and always be a safe place for especially people that you love. So, as a wife, most wives, spouses, when there's something going on with your mate. So, I was always asking him, "Are you okay?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm good," and everything. And my husband, he is a God fearing man, wonderful man, believes in Christ and everything. And then in July, my family had a family reunion in Illinois. So we had decided, okay, we need a getaway. So we was gonna go up a few days early and just go to Detroit, not Detroit, go to downtown Chicago, and just sightsee, do some shopping, just hang out and chill, just get some time to ourselves before we do our family reunion. So we did that. And my husband, we was downtown Chicago, and if anybody know how downtown Chicago is, it's always loud. They're always blowing their horn and everything, and it's just a lot going on. But it's just an experience. And so we were walking downtown, and we were going into one of the stores, and all of a sudden, Gary got real mad. He was like, "I'm tired of them blowing they horns. If they blow a horn one more time," and I'm looking like, what the hell? He never done that. Never got mad. Never got. I don't want to say never, but I've seen him mad a couple of times. But he was mad. He was like, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then so he's like, I can't stand this. I'm like, okay. I said, well, all right, let's just go back to the hotel and chill. And I'm as a wife, I'm like, okay, something ain't right. And then so we went back to the hotel, chilled out or whatever. And then at the family reunion, a lot of my family, they was asking like, is Gary all right? I'm like, yeah, he all right. He just, a little stressed out, and I'm talking about, his son and everything. And I'm like, he going through, a couple of personal issues or whatever. And then, but everybody had kind of noticed it because Gary is more like a laid back, chill guy. Nothing bothers him. And so that was in July. And then in August, and this is where the part comes in where I say how God prepares us. In August, we were at home, and I've always had issues with going to sleep. So we were laying in the bed, and Gary usually laid on the right side of the bed next to the door, and I was on the left side of the bed next to the window. And so that night, I just could not sleep. I was tossing and turning, and I would wake up. I'm like, dang, is it the same day, or is it the next day or whatever? And so then I remember I was laying in the bed, and I was looking up at the ceiling. I would sleep, and I was looking up at the ceiling, and all of a sudden I see like it was like raindrops was coming down from the ceiling, but they were gold. It was like gold dust coming down from the ceiling. And you know how usually when you see something coming towards your eyes like dust or something, you squint, like you don't want it to get in your eyes. And so I was squinting, but nothing was getting in my eyes, and I was just looking up at the ceiling and seeing these gold dust coming down. And then I'm like, dang, was I asleep or was I woke? And I woke up and I went back to sleep. It was like the longest night ever. And then so I'm sleeping. All of a sudden I woke up and I looked to my right at the foot of Gary's bed. Gary was asleep. And I promise y'all, this is the honest to God truth. I looked, and it was two angels standing at the foot of his bed, and they were really tall, and they were standing there, but their heads was like at the top of the ceiling. That's how tall they were. And they were white, and they didn't have like any facial features like it was if it was a man or a woman. And then so all of a sudden I started screaming. I woke up and I started screaming, and Gary was like, what? And I said, they at the foot of your bed. Do you see them? I said, look at them. I said, there's angels at the foot of your bed. And they were white, and they did have wings and everything. And Gary was like, he looking like, what? I don't see nothing. What are you? Go to sleep, And I was like, do you see him? Do you see him? And, so that was that night. And it was just a real rough night that night, and I was like, okay, maybe it was just a dream, and that's all it was. That was in August. And then September, this was September the 17th. I will never forget that, 2017. We were it was on a Sunday, and Gary was in our garage, and we had an attached garage to our house. So Gary was out in the garage cleaning out a refrigerator, and I was in the kitchen cooking, and they were our garage and the kitchen, it was all connected really close together. And my mom was there, and then my cousin had came over, and he kept coming in the house. He would clean it out, then he'd come in the house and sit down, and he was like, something ain't right. And I was like, okay. I said, well, what's wrong? He just said something wasn't right. And then so I said, well, okay, sit down. He'd sit down for a minute, and I had to, I guess, stay connected, watch part 2 for the next video.